Commander Jake Morrison squinted against the bright Nevada sun as he watched the object falling through the sky. It was not like any meteor he had ever seen. This thing was massive and moving too slowly to be a space rock. Worse, it was clearly trying to land instead of just crashing. Jake grabbed his radio and called the control tower at Nellis Air Force Base. "This is Morrison. We have an unidentified flying object coming down about 20 miles west of the base. It's big and it's controlled. Get me a full response team out there now." The object hit the desert floor with a sound like thunder. The ground shook so hard that Jake felt it through his boots even from 5 miles away. A huge cloud of dust and sand rose up into the air, blocking his view of whatever had just landed. Within 30 minutes, Jake was leading a convoy of military vehicles toward the crash site. Dr. Emily Watson sat in the passenger seat of his Humvee, checking her equipment for the 100th time. Emily was the best expert on unknown objects that the government had, even though she had never seen anything like this before. "What do you think it is, Jake?" Emily asked as they drove through the desert. "I think it's not from around here," Jake replied. "That landing was too controlled to be an accident. Something or someone flew that thing down." When they reached the crash site, Jake's jaw dropped. Sitting in a crater the size of a football field was a ship. There was no other word for it. The thing was easily as long as 3 city blocks and looked like it had been built from spare parts. Sections of the hull were different colors and materials. Some parts looked sleek and advanced, while others looked like they had been welded on by someone in a hurry. "My God," Emily whispered. "It's a spaceship." Jake ordered his men to set up a perimeter around the ship while Emily began taking readings with her instruments. The ship was definitely artificial and definitely not built by humans. It was also leaking some kind of energy that made her radiation detectors click rapidly. "Commander Morrison," called Sergeant Tom Bradley from near the ship. "There's a door opening." Jake and Emily ran toward the ship just as a ramp lowered from its side. The metal of the ramp was scarred and dented, and Jake could see that it had been repaired many times. Whatever this ship was, it had seen better days. A figure appeared at the top of the ramp. It was humanoid, but clearly not human. The being was tall and thin with pale blue skin and large dark eyes. It wore what looked like a uniform that had been patched and repaired as many times as the ship itself. The alien raised one hand in what Jake hoped was a peaceful gesture and began walking down the ramp. Its movements were careful and tired, like someone who had been traveling for a very long time. Jake stepped forward with his hands visible and empty. "I am Commander Jake Morrison of the United States Air Force," he said slowly and clearly. The alien tilted its head and touched a device on its chest. When it spoke, the words came out in accented but understandable English. "I am Captain Vex of the Kalari vessel Hope's End," the alien said. "We seek refuge. Our ship is dying and we have nowhere else to go." Emily stepped up beside Jake, her scientific mind racing with questions. "Captain Vex, I am Dr. Emily Watson. Are there others with you?" 43 of my people remain," Vex replied. "We are the last survivors of our world. The hegemony destroyed our home 3 cycles ago. We have been running ever since." Jake noticed how the alien's shoulders sagged as he spoke. This was not an invasion or a conquest. These were refugees. "Your ship," Emily said, gesturing toward the massive vessel. "It looks like it has been heavily repaired." Captain Vex made a sound that might have been a laugh, but there was no humor in it. "We have been fixing it with whatever we could find for 3 years. Parts from destroyed ships, materials we could trade for, anything that would keep us moving. But now," he gestured helplessly, "the fusion cores are failing. Our hull has cracks we cannot seal. Our navigation systems work only half the time." Jake looked at the ship with new eyes. Now he could see that what he had first thought was poor design was actually desperate repair work. The different colored sections were patches and replacements. The ship looked like it was held together with hope and stubbornness. "Captain Vex," Jake said, "how long before your ship fails completely?" "Days, perhaps weeks, if we are very careful with power," Vex replied. "We had hoped to find a world where we could land and build shelters before the ship died. Your world appeared on our sensors as we passed through this system. We had no choice but to try to land here." Emily was already thinking ahead. "Captain, would you be willing to let our people examine your ship? We might be able to help." Vex's large eyes widened in surprise. "You would help us? But you do not know us. We could be dangerous." Jake almost smiled. "Captain, if you were dangerous, we would already know it. You've got a ship the size of a city block and weapons we probably can't even imagine. Instead, you landed peacefully and asked for help. That tells me everything I need to know about your intentions." Within hours, the crash site had become a small city. Military vehicles surrounded the alien ship while scientists and engineers arrived from around the country. Dr. Marcus Chen from MIT landed in a helicopter with a team of the best aerospace engineers in the world. Lisa Parker, who had worked on the most advanced spacecraft projects for SpaceX, drove through the night from California. Captain Vex watched in amazement as humans swarmed over his dying ship. But instead of dismantling it or studying it like a museum piece, they were measuring, calculating, and planning. These humans looked at his ship not as an ancient relic, but as a puzzle to be solved. "Commander Morrison," Captain Vex said as they stood watching the activity. "What are your people doing?" Jake grinned. "Captain, you said your ship was dying. My people heard that as a challenge. We're going to fix it." "But you do not understand our technology. Your science is centuries behind ours." Jake's grin got wider. "Maybe so, Captain. But we've got something your people might have forgotten during all those centuries of advanced science." "What is that?" "We're too stupid to know when something can't be fixed." As the sun set over the Nevada desert, Captain Vex began to understand that his people had not just found refuge on this strange world. They had found something much more valuable. They had found humans, and humans never met a broken thing they would not try to fix. Dr. Marcus Chen stood inside the alien ship and shook his head in wonder. The engine room was 3 times larger than anything he had ever seen on Earth, but the technology inside looked like it had been built by people who were afraid to take risks. "This is incredible," Marcus said to his team of MIT engineers. "Look at these power conduits. They have triple redundancy on everything. No wonder this ship is so massive." Captain Vex stood nearby, watching the humans crawl over his ship's systems. "Our ancestors built these ships to last for centuries," he explained. "Every system has backup systems, and those have backup systems too." Lisa Parker emerged from under a control panel, her face streaked with alien grease, but her eyes bright with excitement. "Captain Vex, this is amazing engineering, but it's also incredibly wasteful. You've got enough computing power in this one, console to run a small city, but you're only using it to monitor fuel levels." "That is how we have always done it," Vex said, though he sounded less certain than before. Dr. Emily Watson walked into the engine room carrying a tablet full of readings. "Marcus, Lisa, you need to see this. The energy output from their fusion cores is off the charts, but somehow they're only using about 20% of it." Marcus frowned as he looked at Emily's data. "That doesn't make sense. Why build a fusion system this powerful if you're not going to use it?" "Safety," Captain Vex replied. "Our engineers always built systems to operate at minimal capacity. It prevents accidents and ensures long operation." Lisa laughed, but not in a mean way. "Captain, with respect, that's like buying a race car and only driving it in first gear. You've got all this amazing power just sitting here unused." Commander Jake Morrison entered the engine room with General Robert Hayes, a tough military man, who had been put in charge of the project by the Pentagon. The general looked around the massive space with the eye of someone who had seen a lot of military equipment in his career. "Dr. Chen," General Hayes said, "what's your assessment?" Marcus wiped his hands on a rag and considered his words carefully. "General, this ship is built like a fortress, but it flies like a tank. The Kalari have amazing technology, but they've made it so safe and redundant that it's incredibly inefficient. With some modifications, we could probably triple its performance." "Modifications using Earth technology?" the general asked. "That's the interesting part," Lisa said, joining the conversation. "Our computers are primitive compared to theirs, but they're also more flexible. Kalari systems are designed to do one job perfectly. Our systems are designed to adapt and change." Captain Vex looked confused. "But why would you want systems that change? Consistency is safety." Jake smiled. "Captain, humans have a different philosophy. We build things to be improved. We like systems that can grow and adapt because we're always trying to make them better." Over the next few weeks, the crash site became the busiest place on Earth. Scientists and engineers from every major country arrived to study the alien technology. The Kalari crew, who had expected to die on this strange world, found themselves working alongside humans who treated their dying ship like the greatest puzzle ever created. Tom Bradley, an electrical engineer from Boeing, made the first major breakthrough. He discovered that human microprocessors, while much less powerful than Kalari computers, could interface with alien systems in ways that even surprised the Kalari. "Look at this." Tom called everyone over to a workbench where he had connected a human laptop to a Kalari control node. "Our computer can't match their processing power, but it can control their system in real time. It's like their computers are too smart to be flexible, but ours are just dumb enough to try anything." Dr. Watson studied the connection with fascination. "It's like the difference between a specialist and a generalist. The Kalari computer knows exactly how to do one thing perfectly. The human computer doesn't know what it can't do, so it tries everything." Captain Vex watched as Tom's simple human laptop began optimizing systems that Kalari engineers had considered unchangeable. Power flow increased by 15% just by having the human computer constantly adjust settings that the Kalari system had kept fixed. "This should not be possible," Vex said, but his tone was more amazed than upset. "Captain," Marcus said as he climbed out of a fusion chamber, "your people think like engineers. We think like mechanics. Engineers build things to work perfectly. Mechanics fix things to work better." The real breakthrough came when Lisa Parker and Tom Bradley began working together on the ship's propulsion system. The Kalari had built it to provide steady, reliable thrust. The humans began modifying it to provide variable, controllable thrust that could change instantly. "We're not replacing your technology," Lisa explained to the Kalari engineer named Cora, who had been assigned to help them. "We're teaching it to be more flexible." Cora watched in amazement as human modifications allowed the engine to adjust its output smoothly from 10% to 90% power. "Our engines were never designed to operate at such variations," she said. "That's okay," Tom replied. "We're designing them to do it now." General Hayes visited the project every few days, and each time he was more impressed. The ship was beginning to look different. Human materials were being integrated with alien systems. Earth-built computers were controlling Kalari technology. Most importantly, the ship was no longer dying. "Commander Morrison," the general said during one visit, "how long before this ship is operational?" Jake looked around at the bustling activity. "At this rate, General, about 6 more weeks. But it won't be the same ship that landed here." "What do you mean?" Dr. Chen answered for him. "We're not just fixing their ship, General. We're making it better." The fusion cores are now running at 60% efficiency instead of 20%. The hull is being reinforced with human titanium alloys that are actually stronger than their original materials. The computers are now adaptive, instead of just programmed. Captain Vex overheard the conversation and approached them. "Commander Morrison, Dr. Chen, I must ask something that troubles me." "What's that, Captain?" Jake replied. When you have finished with our ship, will it still be a Kalari vessel, or will it be something new? Marcus and Jake exchanged looks. Finally, Jake answered. Captain, it will be something that neither humans nor Kalari could have built alone. It will be better than either of our people could make separately. Vex was quiet for a long moment, watching human and Kalari engineers working side by side. My people have forgotten something important, he said finally. What's that? Emily asked. We forgot that the best solutions come from taking risks and trying new things. You humans remember this. Perhaps that is why you will succeed where we have failed. As the sun set over the Nevada desert, the ship that had crash-landed as a dying refugee vessel was being reborn as something unprecedented. It was becoming the first human-alien hybrid technology ever created, and it was becoming something magnificent. 6 months after the ship had crashed in the Nevada desert, Colonel Diana Foster walked through what used to be the Kalari vessel and smiled. The ship barely looked like the same craft that had limped out of the sky. Where alien metal had been, cracked and failing, human steel now reinforced every surface. Where Kalari computers had run single programs, human processors now managed dozens of systems at once. Captain Vex, Diana called out as she found the alien commander studying a new weapons console. What do you think of the modifications? Vex turned from the console with an expression that humans had learned meant he was amazed. Colonel Foster, when we landed here, this was a dying merchant vessel. Now I do not know what to call it. Diana laughed. We call it an upgrade, Captain. A big one. The ship's transformation had been beyond anything either species had imagined. Dr. Emily Watson had made the most important discovery 3 months earlier when she found the complete Kalari cultural database hidden in the ship's core memory. The vessel was not just carrying refugees. It was carrying the entire history, science, and knowledge of the Kalari civilization. This changes everything, Emily had told Commander Jake Morrison when she made the discovery. We are not just fixing a ship. We are preserving an entire culture, and they are sharing all their knowledge with us. The knowledge exchange had accelerated, the reconstruction beyond all expectations. Kalari science combined with human engineering had produced results that surprised everyone. Chief Technology Officer Mike Johnson had led the team that discovered human metallurgy techniques could make alien hull materials 4 times stronger than their original design. The Kalari built their hulls to last forever, Mike explained to General Hayes during one of the weekly progress reports. But they made them just strong enough to handle normal stress. We made them strong enough to handle anything we could think of. What kind of stress are you planning for, Mr. Johnson? The general asked. Mike grinned. The kind that happens when you push alien technology way past what it was designed for. The weapon systems had been Diana's project. As a Marine Corps engineer, she understood that a ship carrying the last remnants of a civilization might need to defend itself. The Kalari had installed only basic defensive systems, designed to discourage pirates rather than fight wars. Captain Vex, Diana had said during the planning phase, your people built this ship thinking like merchants, but you told us the hegemony. Destroyed your world. That means somewhere out there someone might come looking for you. Vex had agreed, though he was not prepared for what human military thinking would add to his ship. Diana's team had integrated experimental human weapons with alien power systems. The results were devastating. Railguns that could punch through. A mountain now drew power from fusion cores that could run a city. Missile systems that could track 100 targets at once were guided by computers that could calculate trajectories faster than the missiles could fly. But the most impressive changes were the ones that nobody could see. Tom Bradley had spent months integrating human artificial intelligence with Kalari computational systems. The ship could now think in ways that neither species could achieve alone. Show them the learning protocol, Tom said to the ship's new AI system during a demonstration for visiting scientists. The main view screen lit up with a tactical display. I am analyzing human military history, the the ship's computer said, in a voice that was somehow both alien and familiar. I have studied 847 major battles and 23,000 smaller engagements. I am also analyzing Kalari defensive strategies from our cultural database. By combining both approaches, I can predict enemy behavior with 94.7% accuracy. Dr. Watson stepped forward. Computer, what happens when you encounter something? Completely new? I adapt, Dr. Watson. That is what humans taught me to do. Kalari systems would wait for new programming. Human systems improvise. I have learned to improvise. The Kalari crew had been amazed by human adaptability, but they had also contributed their own insights. Cora, the Kalari engineer, had worked directly with human teams to create hybrid technologies that neither species understood completely, but both could operate. Humans think with their hands, Cora explained to Captain Vex one day as they watched Lisa Parker modify an energy distribution system by touch, making adjustments based on how the equipment felt rather than what the instruments said. They do not just analyze problems, they feel their way to solutions. Vex had been learning to think like a human military commander. General Hayes had spent weeks teaching him about human military strategy, and Vex was proving to be an excellent student. Your species approaches war very differently than mine, Vex told the general. Kalari fight to survive, humans fight to win. What is the difference, Captain? Hayes asked. When you fight to survive, you try not to lose. When you fight to win, you take risks to gain advantage. I am learning to take risks. The ship's new capabilities were being tested daily. Marcus Chen had overseen the installation of engines that could now push the vessel at speeds no Kalari ship had ever achieved. The fusion cores, running at 90% efficiency thanks to human modifications, provided more power than the original designers had thought possible. We have created something unprecedented, Marcus told Jake during one of their evening walks around the ship. This is not human technology or alien technology anymore. It is something new. Jake nodded as he looked up at the ship's hull, now gleaming with human armor plating over alien energy shields. Marcus, do you think we made it better or just different? Both, Marcus replied. But mostly, we made it ours. Human and Kalari together. Neither of our species could have built this alone. The ship's crew had changed too. The Kalari had learned human methods of quick adaptation and creative problem-solving. The humans had learned Kalari patience and systematic thinking. Captain Vex now commanded a crew that thought in ways no purely human or purely alien crew ever could. Commander Morrison, Vex said one evening as they stood on the ship's new observation deck, I must thank you for something. What is that, Captain? When we landed here, my people were dying. Not just our bodies, but our spirit. We had been running and hiding for so long that we had forgotten how to hope. Your people gave us back our hope. Jake looked out at the bustling activity around the ship. Human and alien workers moved together with the easy cooperation of people who had learned to trust each other completely. Captain, you gave us something too. You gave us the stars. Before you arrived, we were stuck on one world dreaming about space travel. Now, we are building starships. As night fell over the Nevada desert, the transformed vessel hummed with power and purpose. In 6 months, it had gone from a dying refugee ship to something magnificent. It was no longer just Kalari or human. It had become something entirely new, and it was almost ready to show the galaxy what happened when human determination met alien knowledge. Admiral Susan Carter stood in the newly built command center at Nellis Air Force Base, staring at the display screen that showed 12 massive objects moving toward Earth. Each object was the size of a city and moving faster than anything humanity had ever built. The long-range sensors that the Kalari had helped them install were clear about one thing. These ships were built for war. Captain Vex, Susan called to the alien commander, who now spent most of his time working with human military leaders. Are those hegemony ships? Vex looked at the sensor readings and his blue skin grew even paler. Yes, Admiral Carter, 12 destroyer-class warships. Each one carries enough firepower to destroy a continent. Commander Jake Morrison entered the command center with Dr. Emily Watson and General Hayes. The transformation project had been completed just 2 weeks ago, and now it looked like they would need to test their work much sooner than anyone had hoped. How long until they reach Earth? Jake asked. Tom Bradley, who had been monitoring the alien sensors, looked up from his console. At their current speed, 18 hours. They are not trying to hide their approach. Of course they are not hiding, Vex said bitterly. Warlord Thane commands this fleet. He has been hunting Kalari survivors across the galaxy for 3 years. He does not expect any resistance from a primitive world. Dr. Watson pulled up files on her tablet. Captain, tell us about this Warlord Thane. He is the hegemony's greatest military leader, Vex replied. He destroyed our homeworld and 15 other Kalari colonies. His fleet has never been defeated. He believes that any species that cannot defend itself deserves to be enslaved or destroyed. General Hayes studied the tactical display. 12 ships against 1. Those are not good odds. General, Jake said, we are not the same people who watched that refugee ship crash 8 months ago. And that is definitely not the same ship that crashed. Susan nodded toward the hangar where the transformed vessel waited. Over the past weeks, they had decided to call it the Defiance because it represented humanity's refusal to accept defeat. The name had been Captain Vex's suggestion, and it fit perfectly. All crew members report to the Defiance immediately, Susan announced over the base intercom. This is not a drill. The ship's crew had become something unique in the galaxy. 25 humans and 18 Kalari working together as a single unit. They had trained together for months, learning to think and act as one team rather than 2 species cooperating. Lisa Parker ran final checks on the engine systems, while Marcus Chen tested the weapons arrays. The ship's hybrid systems were performing beyond all expectations. Human creativity combined with Kalari knowledge had produced capabilities that neither species could have achieved alone. All systems are green, reported Colonel Diana Foster. From the weapons control station, human kinetic weapons are loaded and ready. Alien energy shields are at full power. Captain Vex took his position at the tactical console next to Jake, who would command the ship during the battle. Over the months, Vex had learned to think like a human military officer, while Jake had learned to understand alien technology and strategy. Captain, Jake said, you know Thane better than anyone. How will he approach this battle? Vex considered the question carefully. Thane is arrogant but not stupid. He will expect to face a single damaged refugee ship with minimal weapons. He will probably send 2 ships to destroy us quickly while the others prepare to invade your planet. What he does not know, Jake said with a grim smile, is that we are not the same ship he has been chasing. The Defiance lifted off from the Nevada desert as the sun was setting. The ship's new engines, powered by fusion cores running at maximum efficiency, pushed them into space faster than any Earth-built vehicle had ever traveled. Within 2 hours, they were beyond the moon and heading toward the incoming hegemony fleet. Admiral Carter, Jake called down to Earth on the communication system. We are in position. Beginning long-range scans of the enemy fleet. The ship's sensors, now enhanced with human adaptive technology, began analyzing the hegemony vessels. Tom Bradley's AI integration allowed the computer to learn about enemy capabilities in real time. 12 ships confirmed, the ship's AI reported in its strange human-alien voice. Each ship carries approximately 500 crew members. Weapon systems include plasma cannons, photon torpedoes, and energy shields. Estimated combined firepower, sufficient to destroy Earth's surface 3 times over. Dr. Watson, monitoring from Earth, spoke over the comm system. Jake, those ships could wipe out our entire civilization. Are you sure about this? Jake looked around the bridge at his mixed human and Kalari crew. Everyone was calm and focused. Months of working together had created a team that trusted each other completely. Dr. Watson, 8 months ago, a broken alien ship fell out of our sky. Everyone said it could not be fixed. We fixed it. Everyone said it could not be improved. We made it better. Now everyone is saying we cannot win this fight. Jake paused and looked at Captain Vex, who nodded encouragement. We are about to prove them wrong again. The hegemony fleet detected the Defiance when it was still 4 hours away from Earth. Warlord Thane, commanding from his flagship, studied the readings with interest. A single ship approaches us, his tactical officer reported. It appears to be the Kalari refugee vessel. We have been tracking. Thane laughed. Excellent. The cowards have finally decided to make a stand. Deploy the Crusher and the Devastator to destroy them quickly. The rest of the fleet will continue toward the planet. What Warlord Thane did not know was that the ship approaching his fleet was no longer the desperate refugee vessel he had been hunting. The Defiance was something entirely new in the galaxy. It was the first product of human-alien cooperation, and it was about to teach the hegemony that some species did not stay defeated. All stations report ready for combat, Jake announced to his crew. Remember, we are not just fighting for Earth or for the Kalari. We are fighting to show the galaxy that cooperation is stronger than conquest. The first battle between humanity and the galactic powers was about to begin, and it would change everything. The hegemony warship Crusher approached the Defiance like a predator stalking wounded prey. Its captain, Commander Brutus, had destroyed dozens of refugee ships over the years. He expected this to be just another easy victory. Target the engine section, Brutus ordered his weapons officer. Disable them first, then destroy them slowly. Warlord Thane enjoys watching refugee ships die. On the Defiance, Jake Morrison watched the enemy ship approach on the main screen. The Crusher was 3 times larger than their vessel and bristled, with weapons designed to destroy planets. But size was not everything. Captain Vex, Jake said calmly, please remind me what Kalari battle doctrine says about facing a superior enemy. Vex, who had learned human tactical thinking over the past months, smiled in a very human way. Traditional Kalari doctrine would recommend retreat and evasion, but I have learned human doctrine now, which is, hit them before they know what is happening. Jake nodded to Colonel Diana Foster at the weapons console. Diana, show them what human engineering can do. The Defiance had been built to look like a refugee ship from the outside, but its weapons were hidden beneath armor plating that could retract in seconds. As the Crusher closed to what its captain thought was a safe attack distance, panels all, along the Defiance's hull suddenly opened. "What in the void is that?" Brutus shouted as dozens of weapon ports appeared on what he had thought was a helpless refugee vessel. The answer came in the form of kinetic projectiles fired from railguns, powered by alien fusion cores. The tungsten rods, accelerated to 20% of light speed, hit the Crusher's shields like hammers striking glass. Commander Brutus watched in shock as his ship's energy shields, designed to stop conventional weapons, collapsed under the impact of projectiles moving faster than anything in the hegemony arsenal. "Impossible," he whispered, as his ship's hull began to buckle under the assault. On the Defiance, Tom Bradley monitored the ship's AI as it analyzed the enemy's response to each attack. "The computer is learning their defensive patterns," he reported. "Each shot is more accurate than the last." The second hegemony ship, the Devastator, moved to assist its companion, but Captain Vex had anticipated this. "Jake, recommend we use pattern Delta 7. Agreed. "Lisa, give us maximum engine power." Lisa Parker's modifications to the alien. Propulsion system allowed the Defiance to accelerate and maneuver in ways that violated everything the hegemony knew about space combat. The ship twisted through space like a fighter jet, avoiding the massive plasma cannon blasts from both enemy vessels. "How is that ship moving like that?" the Devastator's captain shouted at his sensors officer. "No ship that size should be able to maneuver so quickly." The answer was human engineering applied to alien technology. Lisa had redesigned the engine systems to provide instant thrust changes instead of the gradual acceleration curves that Kalari ships used. The Defiance could change direction faster than enemy computers could track. Marcus Chen's weapon modifications were equally devastating. Human targeting computers, enhanced with Kalari processing power, could track multiple enemies while calculating optimal firing solutions. Every shot was placed exactly where it would do the most damage. The Crusher died first. Its hull, cracked by repeated kinetic impacts, finally split apart in a burst of atmosphere and debris. The Devastator, seeing its companion destroyed, tried to retreat, but the Defiance was faster. "No survivors," Jake said grimly. "We cannot let them report back to Thane about our capabilities." Colonel Foster's missiles, guided by the ship's hybrid AI, pursued the fleeing hegemony vessel. The warheads, designed by human weapons engineers, but powered by alien energy cells, detonated against the enemy ship's engine section. The Devastator died in silence, its wreckage drifting in the void. Aboard Warlord Thane's flagship, the bridge crew watched in stunned silence as two of their most powerful warships were destroyed by a single enemy vessel. "Report!" Thane demanded, his voice cold with fury. "Sir, the refugee ship destroyed the Crusher and Devastator in less than 30 minutes," his tactical officer replied, fear evident in his voice. "Their weapons are unlike anything in our database." Thane studied the tactical display, his mind racing. He had conquered 47 star systems and destroyed countless enemy fleets. He had never seen weapons like the ones that had just killed two of his ships. "Analysis of their attack patterns," he ordered. "Sir, they appear to be using kinetic weapons accelerated to incredible velocities. Our shields are designed to stop. Energy weapons and conventional projectiles. These weapons are moving too fast for our defenses." Thane realized he was facing something unprecedented. This was not a refugee ship anymore. It was something new and dangerous. "All ships, attack." "Formation Omega," he commanded. "Concentrate all firepower on the enemy vessel. Destroy it immediately." On the Defiance, the crew watched as 10 remaining hegemony ships moved into attack formation. Each ship was larger and more heavily armed than the two they had just destroyed. 10 ships, Dr. Watson said over the comm from Earth. "Jake, maybe you should retreat and try to lead them away from the planet." Jake looked around the bridge at his human and Kalari crew. Everyone was calm and focused. Months of training together had created something unique, a team that thought as one unit. "Dr. Watson, we appreciate the suggestion, but we have a better idea." "What is that?" Jake smiled as he watched the enemy ships approach. "We are going to show the galaxy what happens when human stubbornness meets alien technology." The ship's AI, enhanced with Tom Bradley's learning protocols, had been analyzing hegemony tactics throughout the first engagement. "I have identified 17 weaknesses in their formation," it reported. "Recommend attack pattern Charlie 9 with modifications for multiple targets." Captain Vex, now thinking like a human tactician, added his own insights. "Their commanders will expect us to retreat. Instead, we should attack their command ship directly." "Agreed," Jake said. "All stations, prepare for maximum engagement. Show them why humans never give up." The Defiance accelerated toward the center of the hegemony formation, its weapons charging for what would become the most famous space battle in galactic history. Behind them, Earth waited to see if cooperation and determination could triumph over conquest and fear. The real fight was about to begin. The final battle lasted 6 hours and changed the course of galactic history forever. Warlord Thane, who had conquered 47 star systems, watched his supposedly invincible fleet die one ship at a time to a single vessel that should not have existed. The Defiance moved through the hegemony formation like a shark among fish. Its weapons, guided by an AI that learned from every exchange of fire, found weaknesses in enemy ships that their own designers had never known existed. Human creativity combined with Kalari precision created a fighting style that no purely alien or purely human crew could have achieved. Impossible, Thane whispered as his 8th ship exploded under the relentless assault. This cannot be happening. The Defiance, Jake Morrison coordinated the battle with Captain Vex while their mixed crew worked with perfect synchronization. Human adaptability and Kalari systematic thinking had created a team that functioned like a single organism. Target their command ship, Jake ordered as the last escort vessel died. End this, Colonel Diana Foster's weapons, enhanced far beyond. Their original design spoke with the voice of thunder. The flagship's shields collapsed under the assault, and Warlord Thane died still, not understanding how a primitive world had destroyed his fleet. Only one hegemony ship escaped, fleeing into hyperspace with news that would shake the galaxy. Earth, a world unknown to galactic civilization just 8 months earlier, had announced itself by destroying the most feared fleet in hegemony space. Back on Earth, Admiral Susan Carter watched the battle's end from the command center. The entire world had been holding its breath, waiting to see if humanity's first space battle would be their last. Instead, it had become their greatest victory. "Jake," she called over the comm. "Status report. Admiral, the hegemony fleet has been destroyed. One ship escaped to carry the news. Earth is safe." The celebration that followed lasted for days, but the real work was just beginning. Dr. Emily Watson established the Terran-Kalari Cultural Exchange, ensuring that both species would continue learning from each other. The alien refugees who had expected to die on a distant world chose to make Earth their new home. "We have wandered the galaxy for 3 years," Captain Vex told Jake as they stood on the observation deck of the newly renamed ship. "We have found more than refuge here. We have found partners." The Defiance became the template for humanity's first space fleet. General Hayes oversaw the construction of 12 more hybrid vessels, each one incorporating lessons learned from the battle. The shipyards that had once built aircraft carriers now built starships that combined the best of both species' technology. Within 2 years, Earth had transformed from an isolated world to a major galactic power. The victory over Warlord Thane's fleet had sent a message across known space. Humanity was not just another primitive species to be conquered. They were innovators who could take any technology and make it better. Dr. Marcus Chen, now director of the Human Kalari Technology Institute, oversaw research projects that amazed scientists from both species. "We are not just sharing knowledge," he explained to visiting alien diplomats. "We are creating new knowledge that neither species could discover alone." The first alien diplomatic missions began arriving within 6 months of the battle. Some came seeking alliance with the new space power. Others came to assess the threat level of a species that could turn refugee technology into weapons of war. Lisa Parker, now commanding her own hybrid starship, led humanity's first diplomatic mission to the Kalari's former allies. The reception was mixed. Some species welcomed the news that the Kalari had survived. Others were concerned about the military capabilities their human partners had displayed. "The galaxy is not sure what to make of us," Lisa reported during a meeting with Earth's leadership. "They respect our military power, but they are concerned about our intentions." Jake, now Admiral Morrison and commander of Earth's stellar fleet, understood the alien concerns. "We need to show them that we are not conquerors. We are defenders and builders." The proof came when the hegemony attempted revenge. A massive fleet of 50 warships approached Earth 2 years after Thane's defeat. This time, they faced not one hybrid ship, but an entire fleet of human Kalari vessels working in perfect coordination. The battle lasted 3 days and ended with the complete destruction of the hegemony invasion force. Not a single alien ship escaped. The hegemony's reign of terror across the galaxy was over, ended by a species they had never even heard of until it was too late. Tom Bradley, now the chief architect of human-alien hybrid AI systems, watched the battle from the command ship. The AI is no longer just learning human and Kalari tactics, he reported. It is creating entirely new strategies that no biological mind could conceive. The victory established Earth as the dominant military power in known space, but humanity used that power differently than previous galactic empires. Instead of conquest, they offered partnership. Instead of demanding tribute, they shared technology. Captain Vex, now serving as Earth's ambassador to the Kalari diaspora scattered across the galaxy, helped establish the first Galactic Cooperation Council. Representatives from dozens of species met on Earth to discuss mutual defense and shared research. 3 years ago, my people were refugees with no hope, Vex said during the Council's opening ceremony. Today, we are partners in the galaxy's first truly cooperative civilization. This is what becomes possible when species choose to work together instead of fighting each other. Dr. Watson's cultural exchange programs brought alien students to Earth and sent human researchers to distant worlds. The flow of knowledge accelerated technological development across multiple species. Problems that had seemed impossible for centuries were solved in months by mixed species research teams. The galaxy's transformation was remarkable. The hegemony's collapse had ended the era of conquest and slavery. In its place rose a new age of cooperation and shared advancement. Earth had become the center of this new galactic community, not through conquest, but through the simple human belief that anything broken could be fixed, and anything good could be made better. 5 years after a dying refugee ship had crashed. In the Nevada desert, Admiral Morrison stood on the bridge of the newest human-alien hybrid vessel. The ship was preparing to depart for the galactic frontier, where new species were being contacted and invited to join the growing alliance. "Admiral," Captain Vex said, as he joined Jake at the observation window, "do you ever think about how this all started?" Jake smiled as he looked out at the stars. "A broken spaceship fell out of our sky, and everyone said it could not be fixed. We fixed it. Everyone said we could not improve alien technology. We made it better. Everyone said we could not defeat the hegemony. We destroyed them. And now? Now we are doing what humans do best, Captain. We are taking something good and making it better. We are making the galaxy into something worth living in." The ship jumped to hyperspace, carrying its message of cooperation to distant worlds. Behind them, Earth continued its transformation from an isolated planet to the heart of galactic civilization. The age of human expansion had begun, built on the foundation of one simple human trait: the refusal to accept that anything was truly beyond repair. The galaxy would never be the same, and that was exactly what humanity had intended.